only did Florida get it right, these experts like Fauci got it wrong. They were wrong on lockdowns. They were wrong on masking. They were wrong on saying schools needed to be closed. They were wrong on denying the existence of natural immunity. They were wrong about the efficacy of mRNA shots. They were wrong about denying that the COVID virus came from a lab in Wuhan, China. So my question is, where is the accountability for these people for all the damage that they did to our country?
That was Ron DeSantis, Republican governor of Florida and possible candidate for the presidency, speaking in, I believe, Pennsylvania over the weekend about subjects near and dear to our hearts, the COVID overreaction in terms of mandates and all of that, the expert consensus, the public health consensus on so many interventions turning out to not be exactly what they said in terms of accuracy, and whether there should be accountability for people who got things wrong repeatedly, like Dr. Fauci. And I think the most important thing for holding Dr. Fauci accountable, if that's appropriate, is his role as an advocate for the kind of funding that we are now concerned might have had something to do with the outbreak of the pandemic in the first place. Because I don't think, while I disagree with a lot of his views on schools and masks and mandates and all sorts of things, it's not a crime to offer public health guidance that I think is wrong. Where the potential real wrongdoing comes in is if gain of function research had something to do with how this pandemic started in the first place, in my view.
Right. Although, as Dr. Redfield explained to us, the congressional ban on that had been lifted, right? So it's sort of difficult to imagine what the crime would be. Right. So accountability, yes. Criminal mischief, I'm not sure that I'm there. I mean, that feels a little bit too far to me, but not that Governor DeSantis suggested that. I, too, want accountability. I want them to admit what they got wrong. I want them to explain how they're going to do better in the future. All that falls under accountability. I think Governor DeSantis is very strong on this in a way that Trump is not, just because, he did work very closely with Dr. Fauci. He did take his recommendations and his advice, and he did push the vaccine in a way that I think in a way weakens him with the base. Of course, right now he's getting this big bump of support because of this indictment. But at the end of the day, I really think people, when they go to the ballot box, are going to be thinking about their lives, not about Trump's life. And the issues they're going to be voting on are the same issues that they voted on when they voted for Trump in 2016, which is immigration, foreign war, and entanglements in the economy. And you're going to now get to add to that COVID. I think that was a really big deal for his base. And, these are issues that DeSantis is looking stronger and stronger on. So I wouldn't write him off quite so quickly as some are wont to do.
Yeah, it's interesting that Trump is particularly weak with the base on COVID. I think that's well-deserved on a lot of fronts because, as you said, he did listen to Fauci, at least for a couple months, in terms of shutting things down and, what he was talking about and the importance of social distancing, all that. Trump also gets some flack from the base for being perceived as being more pro-vaccine than DeSantis, although I don't know that it's really that much of a... Trump didn't put forth any vaccine mandates, right? That was Joe Biden. He helped bring the vaccine into existence. He recommended people get it. He said he got it. He didn't force it on anyone. And, that's what DeSantis is very opposed to the mandates, which I think is right. But I actually think that's kind of an unfair hit on Trump.
It's very unfair because he saved probably hundreds of thousands of lives with Operation Warp Speed. And so it's just very interesting that the political tide sort of turned against that, and that DeSantis now won't even admit, I don't think, whether he's gotten vaccinated or boosted, although, one can have one's suspicions on the topic. So I totally agree with you. It's a little bit, it's almost Shakespearean in the tragedy here, right, of having saved all these lives and then the political winds turning against anything that had to do with the vaccine. Even just making it available, right, in a more healthy political environment, you could imagine people sort of making that distinction, which I think they do on a personal level between, the vaccine itself and then the vaccine mandates.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and and vaccines, for young, otherwise healthy people, children. You're right. Obviously, the mandates are bad, and then really emphasizing the importance of young people getting it and getting boosted and getting it over and over again, as some schools and college campuses are doing. Versus, I think that's very much still up for debate. Versus, the very ill, the very elderly, where the evidence is much stronger that the vaccines are doing you some good against COVID, which it's so important to comprehend the age curve of COVID, that this is not exclusively, but so much more likely to negatively impact people of advanced age, for which the vaccine, the evidence holds up, particularly for the more deadly strains of the disease we were dealing with some time ago. It's great that we had the vaccines for those people, and political figures like Trump, who helped make that happen, absolutely deserve some credit. So I think some of the anti-vax stuff certainly can go too far, when it's like, it's very dangerous. Old people shouldn't get it. I'm like, no, I'm glad a lot of people's grandparents were able to get it, obviously.
Right. I think I would say all of which is to say, I'll be much more comfortable supporting this line of attack when DeSantis is running against Biden,
right,
than I am when he's trying to use it against Trump. Right. It's a little bit sort of, it's one feels, right, the unfairness of what is a kind of veiled almost attack. At the same time, I really think that a lot of the rhetoric, sort of, insisting that Trump is going to be the nominee, is misguided, because like I said, and I'm curious what you think about this, Robby. Like, yes, he gets these boosts when they come after him in such an obviously politically motivated way, right? I think a lot of people feel a sense of loyalty to him for all of the good things that they perceive him to have done during his first term. A lot of people feel that he was robbed in the second term, but at the end of the day, when people walk into that ballot box, they're thinking about their families and their checkbook, and they're thinking about foreign entanglements, immigration, COVID, class issues. Is the America I'm leaving to my children better than the America that was left to me? And I don't think that the answer to that question is going to hinge on how mistreated Trump was by even a judicial system that does seem to be more and more politicized. I think people are going to be thinking about who is the person who's most likely to make America something I can be proud to leave to my kids. And I don't know that that's going to be Trump at the end of the day.
We'll see. I want to believe you as you lay the case out there. I think that's definitely one way of looking at it. I think if you forced me to guess, I would agree with you that DeSantis can pull it out for the reasons you're spelling out. But man, I don't know. Trump's support is always a lot more reliable. That it's been just discounted so many times, and then he pulls it out. And we're seeing this happen. He's being defended wall to wall in conservative media, which, look, I get why, but they're going to bat for him, even though they do prefer. I think a lot of them prefer DeSantis. And at some point, if you want the primary voters to prefer DeSantis, maybe you should think about your coverage choices here, because it could be Trump again. I think he is certainly capable of pulling off the nomination again. Do I think it's the most likely thing to happen? Probably not, but there are so many other factors. It depends if other people get in the race. Every person who gets in the race is going to help Trump. It depends on a lot of things. So I don't think it's going to be easy for DeSantis. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. If he really wants this, and he should want it, he has a good shot to be the next president of the United States if he goes for it. But he has to go guns blazing. This is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight to the bitter end, and then Trump might run anyway out of spite. And he's just got to realize that that's a real shit. This is not going to be easy. Trump will never go away quietly. So the gauntlets are coming off, and if he wants it, he has to fight for it. And I think he can get it, but no one is going to make it easy for him. That's my view.
Right. I think, one interesting way to think about it is, so we know Trump pulled in $5 million since the indictment was announced. 25% of that, The Hill reported, was from first-time donors. The question is those people, right, who donate out of a sense of fury, right, that thing that Trump is always saying, like, this attack on me is really an attack on you, right? It's a politicized system that's attacking me because of who I represent, right? So it's whether the people, those 25% of new donors, right, in that moment of rage, right, whether that feeling is actually going to overcome their sensibility about who would be the best president when they're actually standing there, at the ballot box, pulling the lever. I think, to me, that's really the big question out there.
Well, we will have plenty more opportunities to ponder this in the coming weeks, months, and years.
Indeed.
More Rising right after this.